Hey Top Shelfers, welcome to Behind the Bar, where we make historic cocktails enjoyed every day. Today we're getting into a regional classic, one that comes from our favorite cocktail book, Just Cocktails, in 1939. This cocktail is known as Income Tax. You can imagine that it may taste bad, but that's for us to find out. After all, this is what is great about trying out these old cocktail recipes, is that some people came up with some really weird stuff. Well, this cocktail is made with 3 simple ingredients. Looks a lot like a martini, actually. It has gin, also French vermouth and Italian vermouth, and a little bit of some orange. So let's get into our drink. First, we're going to get out our coupe glass. Now, with all things historic cocktails, we want to make sure that we chill down our glass historically, because after all, a little bit of accuracy historically, I think, is important to us, both as mixologists and as historians. So we'll grab some ice here, toss this into our coupe glass, make sure nothing spills out. Perfect. Then we're going to pour in some water. Make sure none of that spills out. There we go. Perfect. And we'll put this off to the side for this to chill down. We'll just toss that water when we're done. Now, let's get into our cocktail. Now, this is a very simple recipe. One of the interesting things about using these old recipe books is that they're not always the most specific in the measurements. This one mostly came in terms of parts. It said 1/2 part to a 1/4 part to a 1/4 part. So a 1/2 part of gin to a 1/4 part of French vermouth to a 1/4 part of Italian vermouth. How much that is, I don't really know. Could be an ounce, could be 3 ounces. Depends on how drunk you want to get. But considering that we want to be responsible drinkers around here, let's go with 1 ounce of gin. Now I'm using New Amsterdam, pretty good gin. Not my favorite, but also not terrible after all. So we're going to start off our drink with throwing an ounce of this beauty in here. Pour that on in. And then we're going to follow it up with a 1/2 ounce of Noilly Prat French vermouth. Now this is a dry vermouth, so it's going to finish with kind of a flowery taste. But of course, this will be competing in terms of the finish on the mouthfeel with this little baby, the sweet Italian vermouth that we've got going on. Now, once again, our recipe didn't specify whether it was dry vermouth or sweet vermouth. So we just know it's French and it's Italian. So I use French and I use Italian. That's the nice thing. You get a little bit of leeway into how you want to go about it. Next thing it calls for is a 1/4 of an orange juiced. Now, that means we're not going to be using just orange juice because it calls for a 1/4 of an orange, which means we need fresh squeezed, which is great because I like fresh squeeze. It tastes better. So we'll throw this into our little juice press with our strainer below. Hopefully this doesn't go everywhere, probably will. And we'll just strain that on in. Doesn't sound like a lot. And that's the thing. With a 1/4 of an orange and it's juice only, you don't really know how much is going to be in there. I'm going to flip this around, try to get as much of that juice out as possible. Oh yeah, that sounds better, doesn't it? I don't know how much you can hear actually, but sounds better to me. And luckily we've also strained out some of that pulp too with having that extra strainer. We'll throw that off to the side, throw this off to the side. Next we're just going to get some ice. Toss it on in, and we shake. Interesting that we're shaking, even though this is all spirits, but you know, who am I to judge? Not my cocktail. There we go. That's nice and cold. Now let's see if I can get it. There we go. It's like a locksmith unlocking a lock for me. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. You just need the magic touch. I'm going to pour out our water and ice combo here. Our drink is nice and chilled, and now we will strain into our glass. Doesn't that look pretty? Whew. I don't know about you, my income taxes never look like that. Last thing it calls for is a little bit of bitters. Now, you can add this at any time in the recipe. You can add it before you shake. But I think for our aromatic feel here, and it calls for 1 dash, just do a little bit of that, some drops. Ah, that looks pretty. Looks nice. I like it. Just a little hint of red for how much money you're bleeding to the government. You can stir that around if you like. You can swish it around. Now it gets nice and homogeneous in flavor. And then it finally calls for a garnish with a orange peel. So let me just grab this. We're spilling a little juice, it's fine. And we'll just spritz that on over. Rim it around, stick it on in, and a nice little surprise. But there you have the income tax. Now, let's see if it sucks like income taxes, or if it's great like income taxes will never be. It smells good. You know, it's kind of living up to the name income tax. Because here's my reason why. The bitters are making themselves known. The orange peel that we have in there, which is what the garnish is the first thing that you taste. So you get a little bit of that peel flavor, which is naturally bitter in the way that it tastes. And there's not a whole lot of sweetness with this drink. You've got gin, you've got dry vermouth, and then you've got sweet vermouth. So there's not a lot of sugar. So it's a bit harsher on the palate. So I would say, yeah, this fits. You know, I would much rather my income taxes be this than the actual thing. But overall, I think it's a fitting name for a rather decent cocktail. Try it yourself. Let us know what you think. Does this cocktail live up to its name, or is it better, or is it worse? Let us know. Hit us up on Instagram or reply to us on any of our social media websites. But there you have it, the income tax.